this is the final question for the day. Suppose you are starting a new OTT platform with 50,000 titles and you have got your first 100 users. Your customers have selected their top 3 titles as well. But after that, they are clueless on what to watch next. How will you formulate this task? Now, we basically need to recommend movies to users. By titles, it can be a movie or a series. I will interchangeably call them as movies. So we have to recommend movies to users. This is the basic formulation. Let me write that. Recommend. And what do we recommend? Movies. To whom? Users. So coming back to our problem, the central question here is, are we looking for a mapping that is supervised, or are we looking for some similarity and grouping? So if it is a mapping, it has to be mapping between users and movies, or are we looking for some form of similarity between movies and grouping? Let's write that down. So are we looking for a mapping in which means supervised, or are we looking for grouping meaning unsupervised? Let's look at this both ways. So one argument that I can make here is that movies and users are two different type of variables. Two variable types. And hence a mapping needs to exist between them. So two variable types mapping is necessary. This is an argument. I am not saying that it is always the case. So let me put that under question mark, right? So naturally, if we go with this argument, we are saying supervised learning is the only solution. To further enhance this argument, I can say that the question states that there is 3 labeled information per user already available. So this is more like an additional argument. The first one is more like a necessary argument. The second one is like an additional argument or an optional argument, which enhances the first one's position, right? So if I have to summarize, yes, it's like movies versus user mapping, which is two variables. Labeled info is available. 3 per user. So if I have to make a counter argument, let's change the color. The only information we know about users based on the question is via their movie preferences. So for me, a user is nothing but it is represented as movie 1, movie 2, movie 3. Since the question does not say any other information, if I have to collect anything extra, I have to go back and collect that extra information. So what is available to me is that a user is represented solely based on the 3 movie preferences they have provided to us. So users are represented via their choice of 3 movies. If so, basically users are represented as movies and we need to now recommend movies, right? So it's not anymore 2 variables, right? If you look at it that way. So it's not anymore a mapping between 2 variables. It's all within the movie variables. So it's like not this argument is refuted. When I say refuted, the first argument is true. Only thing is that the second argument makes it easier to approach this problem. So by Occam's razor, I am saying this first argument is now superseded because the second argument says they are not 2 variables. They actually can be considered as the same variable because users are also represented as nothing but movies and we have to predict movies. Now comes the second argument. So the first argument, what does it establish? In addition to supervised, unsupervised methods are also possible. We are not saying that it is needed. All I am saying that this is possible. Implying we can now just find similarities and group them. Now again, even though there is some labeling information available, at most it may cover 300 movies. We have 100 users. They have given 3 preferences each. Even if we assume in the best case scenario for supervised that every person has given a unique movie label, then also it covers 300 movies. It does not go beyond 300 movies. So our label data is at best 300. Total we have 50,000. So around 49,700 are not labeled. So the labeling information that the labeling argument we argued here does not look much preferable now. So this is also now not really a interesting argument. So in this case, a preferable way would be to go for clustering as it avoids the need for additional labeling. So there is unsupervised clustering is my final recommendation here. That's the solution. Now if you're confused how would we make it work, it's very simple. Like once we have the clusters, we may simply match users with those clusters which have the movies that they have already chosen. Then we can recommend the remaining movies in those clusters to the user. It's as straightforward as that. So the intention of the exercise was to make everyone think of various possibilities before addressing a problem and designing a solution to that. Hence, these were purposefully kept a bit open-ended. I believe we were able to discuss some of the important facets by which we can analyze such problems. But let's quite confidently assume that the questions of similar patterns will be less ambiguous, or let's say it will be more rigorously defined in a MCQ type exam like that in GATE. So there are few more questions kept for your practice, which will be released in our egate.ai portal. Please try to solve them. If you require any clarification regarding these questions, or if you think there are some ambiguities regarding the question, feel free to post it in our discussion forum. We will discuss those in the next week. Thank you.